Welcome, gentlemen. This weekend, I spent some time rereading Naval Ravikant's work on, he titled it How to Get Rich, but it covers a lot of ground about work, career, what direction to go in. And the thing I wanted to reread it, I was looking for some passages that cover basically the non-linearity of work, of modern work, of high-level work. This is something that's been on my mind lately a lot as I've been cranking up the hours and up and up and up and up and seeing how far I can take it, working weekends, working evenings, working basically all times. There's a certain level of satisfaction that comes with that, knowing I can do that, knowing I can push myself to do that if I need to, if I want to. But you also run into certain limits, the unsustainability of it. And yeah, if you want to keep progressing, if you want to keep upping the output, your productivity, what you achieve, you have to start thinking of different ways because there are only so many hours in a day. And no matter how much you do it, you're gonna run into the thresholds. So I had to take a step back and reassess and think about like what really moves the needle and how can you really, because that's the main point, how can you get exponential output? By which I mean, how can you get more output for every unit of input that you deliver? Right? So simply saying, how can I get more done in the same 8 hours or 10 hours or 6 or 4 hours, however much you want to put in? And that's why I went back to Naval's work. Is in the end, he only touches on it very briefly, but the interesting thing is that it's embedded in a wider framework of how he thinks about work and what you should focus on and leverage and scaling. He talks about building companies a lot and career, but also health and happiness. So he brings it all together. If you haven't read his work, I highly recommend it. It's not even that long. It's not even an entire book. It was more like it was a Twitter thread, and out of the Twitter thread, he did a longer podcast, digging into the work and explaining what he means. Because the Twitter thread is basically a collection of principles. And then later on, people actually turned that Twitter thread and that interview into you could call it a book, but it's a lot shorter than most books. It's, it's very readable. You can do it in a day easily. So, highly recommend that one. The main takeaway for me is doing things in a way that basically they're aligned with your strengths. So to make it a bit more concrete, you might be in sales like I am. And it's I've spoken about this before. It's very tempting to think that, oh, if I just put in more work, if I do more cold calls, if I do more outreach, I'm gonna make more commissions. That's not exactly how it works. So much of sales is relying on relationships, chemistry, strategy, knowing when to do what, in what way to say certain things. It's all so specific. And you might literally be better off by working less hours and maybe going to lunch and dinner, because those things could lead to new opportunities. Plus, they get you in a, let's say, just like an empowering state, which makes you more effective when you are on sales calls, because you, at the end of the day, people don't really buy your product, they buy you. So if you come across as this guy that's like in the zone and he's winning, that's someone they want to work with, right? If you carry the right energy. So the non-linearity of work, it's that's very interesting, right? So what I said earlier, like, just because you put in more hours doesn't mean it's going to lead to more commissions or more closes or more deals. And that's such an important point. It's so easy to get carried away with just piling on more work, especially if you're competitive, if you're in a competitive environment. People are like also constantly, like other guys around you are constantly signaling, right? Like how much effort they're putting in and how many hours they're putting in. And it makes you think that, oh, I gotta be doing that as well, because these are the guys that you look up to and you respect. Like, might even be guys around you, might even be like seniors of yours that are an example and that they teach you a lot. But there are definitely limits to this thinking. And at some point, you gotta get more creative. You gotta find out, where is the leverage in the system? Like, what can I do with less effort that's gonna get me more results? So now we get into leveraging relationships, building systems, even your state, right? Like, if you are in an optimal state and you're energized and you're feeling good, you might get more done in 4 hours of work or 6 hours of work, compared to a situation where you're putting in 10 hours, but you're just drained, you're uninspired, you're demoralized, and you're just grinding. And the more you get into creative work and strategic work, the more that's true. If you work on a conveyor belt or something like that, something very mechanical, yeah, the more you put in, the more you're gonna get out. But you eventually want to get to situations, to positions where that's no longer true, where you're multiplying the outputs. And you can do that by building businesses, getting capital behind you. You can leverage media, you can leverage code to automate certain processes. to, like this video, for example, right? I recorded once, but in theory, in principle, it can be multiplied infinitely. Like more and more people can watch it if you just grow the channel. That's what media does. You create it one time, and from there it can be leveraged over and over and over and over again. In sales, you could do a similar thing. You can create sort of like an update bulletin for all your prospects and clients where you draft one nice message with all the highlights from your company that month, new clients, new work you put out, cool things you were involved with, new partnerships. You draft that message once and you can shoot that to everyone. And everyone's gonna be fine with you sending a message like that. It's understood. It's just like a monthly general update. You're sending that to everyone. It doesn't have to be tailored, but it is showing that you are doing cool stuff. You are making wins. You are getting results, etc., etc. Same for basically all your processes. If you upgrade and keep tweaking and evolving your system, that's going to pay its dividends over and over and over again. The way you do outreach, for example, if you craft a highly efficient outreach message that you can tweak, customize with minimal effort, that's going to pay its dividends over and over and over again. A lot of these things come sort of natural. Like if you practice your pitch, you just do that by having lots of calls. That's just called experience, right? You're gonna get better. So you build leverage by getting better and getting more experienced automatically without too consciously thinking about like, where's the leverage here in this system? But it does pay to every once in a while step back and ask yourself like, what is really working here? And you might notice that all of the deals you closed actually came through friends, referrals, or the other ones might be people that you met in person at a conference, like long before ever closing a deal with them. These are just two examples, but just by assessing, you can start seeing what type of activities are actually paying off. And we want non-linearity all the time. You got to look for non-linearity. You want to be having more output for every unit that you put in. And a lot of the time that requires creativity and that requires stepping back. When you are with your nose to the grindstone and you're in it and you're just sludging away and hammering away and going hard, you are in this tunnel vision. And that's good. That's great for certain activities. That's what you need. But when you are assessing and reviewing and seeing how you can improve things or what direction you should go in, what strategic initiatives to take with your business or with your career, you're not trying to go from 1 to 100, right? You're not just trying to do more of the same thing. You are creatively trying to come up with new answers, going from 0 to 1. How can you do things differently? How can you launch a new product? How can you pivot the strategy? Things of that nature. That requires stepping back and giving yourself some room. So that's what's been on my mind last weekend. And I came up with a few ways to apply it. So we're gonna go about things a little bit differently this week. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it turns out. Pretty confident it's gonna do some good. Pretty inspired about handling things a little bit differently, doing things maybe in a way that are also a bit more fun, a bit more in tune with who I am, and therefore more sustainable, and therefore more likely to have a good result because I'm just gonna be in a positive state of mind. So I'll keep you posted on that one. If you know anyone who would benefit from this message, send it to them. It's absolutely the best way you can support me. Other than that, like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Goodbye, gentlemen.